Looking good, Italian job.
I'm feeling good, Tommy boy. How are you, man?
I'm great. It's Friday. I couldn't be better. The sun is shining. It's nice and crisp out in the gloom these days, which means I'm not dying 3 minutes in to a humid summer beatdown.
Hey, listen, we
Had a,
we live in the South. One of those is sneaking on the back end probably within the next 2 weeks. It'll be
yeah,
75 degrees and 90% humidity. We've
I'm
lived here
counting
long
on it.
enough. We know how
I'm
it
counting
works.
on it. Yeah, no, we had a great week in Natville. I know you and I had a really great conversation last week. Got a lot of positive response from that. I know that had an impact. If you haven't heard it from another guy, just know that that really meant a lot to a lot of guys, which was great. We honored Don't You Know's son in a hero wad this week. That was special. So yeah, it was just I keep saying it, but who's got it better than we do, right?
Nobody. Nobody.
How about you, man? All's well in the world?
Yeah, just busy. The time of year, just busy. You know, dads with shorties and job responsibilities, the end of the year and all those things, busy. But I want to encourage you, this is the time that we really need to be in the gloom because it's real easy to say, I got a lot on my plate. I don't have time. I got to get to work early or whatever it is. Those are excuses we tell ourselves to make a reason why we didn't do the thing we needed to do anyway. So I'm
Yeah.
speaking mostly to myself when I say this, but we got to keep posting. We still got to get out in the gloom because I need this for not only the physical aspect, I need it for the emotional support because
Yeah.
otherwise I'm gonna crack under the pressure.
100%. It's that pressure valve, right? Gotta hit that switch from time to time. Uh, well, as always with this show, we spent months and months planning today's episode, orchestrating the guests and queuing everything up. And we've been looking at this for, I mean, tens of minutes. I think we've spent planning this one. So, but it's always great. Look, and no, all jokes aside, this podcast thrives because guys have great ideas out in the gloom and they're willing to share them with others, and that's what makes us better. And today is definitely along that line in the form of some guys out of Waxhaw who, as I understand it, are pretty well known for putting on epic convergences and anniversary beatdowns. And I heard stories of light shows and parking attendants, and that's how it's done. That's how it's done. So let's get into it. Let's welcome the guys from Waxhaw. They've got some really cool ideas to share, as well as some community impact that stemmed from their idea. So, fellas, I'm just going to do the old Brady Bunch routine. Bratwurst, welcome to the show. Give us your F3 name-orama and how you wound up with Bratwurst.
Yeah, Paul Worsland. I'm 48 in Bratwurst. So I was at one of the original workouts called Big Hair Monday, which is a workout in Freedom Park in Charlotte. And it was early on, so it was easy to come up with names. I think heard one question is like, Worsland, is that German? I said, yeah, Bratwurst. And so it was easy as that.
Stuck like glue. Titanium
And
plates, you're next, brother.
Yeah, Jeff Hamula, 49 titanium plates, formerly known as golden plates, actually, but I have two titanium plates from mountain bike accidents. So
Nice
I have,
foreshadowing.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
we'll talk about the importance of exercise and importance of recovery and psychology and all that with that. But I started in 2020 during COVID when it was a 6:30 time slot. Someone just said, "Hey, get out there." I was getting fatter and fatter, drinking and eating and doing everything too much, depressed in the gloom of COVID, and started getting out there. And then it morphed into once school started and it went to 5:30. I couldn't really get going out there at that time and looking for something else. And then luckily it came up. But I won't steal the show. But that's kind of what got into mountain biking after that.
Nice. And last but not least, Rockwell.
Yeah, hey, Doug Norman, 53, Rockwell.
Respect.
Thank you. My first post was actually in Indian Land, South Carolina, and now mainly part of the Waxhaw crew. Yeah, not a very exciting story. My last name is Norman, so they just tied in Rockwell with the artist, the old artist, I guess. So that's how I got Rockwell.
That's low hanging fruit, man. Sometimes we're not that smart. Hey, I'm just surprised that somebody knew that, in the gloom at that hour, they knew that Norman Rockwell was a painter.
Mm-hmm.
He was a painter, right?
Yes. Yes, he was.
I
Very
never claimed
famous
to be very
words.
smart.
Well, fellas, we're glad to have you guys here, and we'll just toss the question out. And in fact, we'll let you kick off the show. What are we talking about today, and how did it come to be?
So yeah, I'll start us off. Yeah, really what we're talking about is mountain biking. And I've been doing F3 since 2015. But I've been mountain biking for 20 some years. And one day, a few years ago, Posse, who was one of our packs in Waxhaw, just asked me, said, "Hey, why don't have you ever thought about starting some sort of AO?" And interestingly, I had something on my mind that was mountain biking related, but I didn't know that you could. I just always knew F3 as boot camps and running, that kind of thing. And he kind of just gave me that nudge, like, why don't you start something? And he had no idea that I had mountain biking on my mind, but I just kind of had this vision of getting a group of guys together, and sharing F3, everything that F3 is, with the mountain biking community that really wasn't, that weren't boot campers or runners, so to speak. And on top of that, I wanted to tie in the second F, the fellowship piece, with after the mountain biking. So just to kind of combine the two, go ride for an hour or so, and then hang out in the parking lot wherever we're riding. And if you want to bring a beverage of your choice, do that, or just just hang out and share life. And so Posse gave me that nudge, and so I started thinking about doing this, and then I asked him. I said, how do I do this? Who do I ask? Do I ask permission? How does this work to start an AO? And his exact words were, "You don't have to ask permission. You're freed to lead." And that's all I needed to hear. And so that was 3 years ago, and started the what is now known as Off the Chain, is the name of the AO. And I was trying to come up with names for it, and I have to give my wife credit for that one. She's the one that threw Off the Chain out there. I was like, that's it, that's what we're going with. So yeah, 3 years ago was our first season of Off the Chain, and here we are. And there's been a lot of additions and growth, and we'll get into some of that, I'm sure.
So this might be a silly question, but what day of the week? I've heard that you guys kind of fluctuated the time based on, I guess, the time of year, but what day of the week and what time? I guess that's a lesson learned you figured out, but what day of the week is the AO and what time of the day?
So it's in the evening, and we landed on Wednesday evenings. And the only reason for that was we already had a Tuesday evening workout, and we had a Thursday evening workout. So Wednesday was really the open evening, and we start at 6 o'clock and ride till about 7, and then hang out afterwards. The only downside to evening workouts, especially on a mountain bike in the woods, is when it gets dark, you're in trouble. So we go and once the time changes, we have to kind of shut down for the season, and then in March, when the time changes again, we will start back up.
Nice. Yeah. Well, adapt is necessary, right? So titanium plates, you hinted at some injuries, but before you dive into that,
Yeah.
what have been your takeaways, especially as a guy who, F3 kind of, not so much a bait and switch, but 6:30 became 5:30, right? And so talk a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so I really liked the group. I can't really run very well because of an injury. And so the more I run, the worse it would get. So I was really struggling for something. And I've heard through knowing guys in the workout and trying to always nudge you to come back. Someone said, "Hey, I heard there's a mountain bike thing. You got to go check that out." And I used to mountain bike. I'm from out west before, and I had a mountain bike hanging in my garage. I used to ride a little bit, but I, show up to a workout. I was the 6th for sure the whole time on an older bike, and I was like, man, this kind of sucks. I want to not show up again and be the last guy. And it was people, looking at the bike and asking, well, they still build it like that. I didn't think it was that old, but it's anything in biking's, just conversational about the gear. But I started just riding around between, it was an evening workout, and I would ride around we live next to a high school campus that's got a lot of open area and floodplains that are all wooded next to my neighborhood. And a lot of guys run through the neighborhoods on the workouts. And so I was just doing that. And within 2 weeks, I looked at the scale and I'm like, man, I lost 10 pounds and I didn't even feel like I didn't really feel like I worked out. I was kind of sore, but it was a lot of fun. So I was like, wow, I really started getting into it from there and started posting on all the workouts on Wednesdays and the ones I could on Fridays, just the normal boot camp ones. But that's sort of how it started for me. And then, Rockwell and I started talking about other ideas and concepts, and my wheels started turning and we started morphing into some other things. But
no pun intended, wheels started turning. I dig it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There it is.
This free workout starts costing money after a while. My assumption is you upgraded some equipment. Am I accurate in that assumption?
Yeah. So I'm a big guy. I'm 6'6", and back then I was 265 pounds, and I had a bike that wasn't big enough for me. And during COVID, couldn't get a bike. I had to convince someone out of Knoxville to ship me a bike. I had to pay him an extra $100 to do it. Everything just to get a bike my size. I couldn't find them. So once I got a bike, I started riding pretty frequently and started realizing, hey, there's a lot of trails that are around. There's mountain bike, or there's cross country kids that used to have trails behind the woods. A lot more people were outside around COVID and trying to appreciate that. People walking in the woods, walking with the dogs. And this other guy and I that will start talking to Rockwell, like, hey, why don't we see if we can do a ride somewhere else, like in the high school, around the high school area. And Rock was, oh, let's come check it out. He didn't want to do a workout unless he, had it well prepared and figured out. So we went over, and there was a scant trail basically around the high school. It used to be cross country trails, and it kind of loosely, we connected it to a parking lot spot between the middle school and the high school, and cleared the trail. And there was a broken bridge. We went and fixed this bridge so we knew we could ride over it. And it just, and after that, we moved it from the location it was, which is a kind of a greenway path, to a different location that's maybe closer to a lot of the other packs. So, and it just started going from there after that first year. Doug, Rockwell, was that the first year you switched over? Or did you do a year first and we switched over? I can't remember.
Right. Yeah, we did the first year at the Carolina Thread Trail, and the second year is when we switched it to where we are now and started that trail expansion there, right?
Yeah. So at the same time, there had been a in our community a pedestrian plan that shared along North and South Carolina. They have this thread trail concept that tries to do greenways and nature trails that connect the whole state, both states, the whole region, effectively. And I got really interested in that. And I thought, wow, there's a lot of connection opportunities. And so there's all these natural paths. I started getting into, wow, we can start mountain biking here. And we started expanding these trails, and there'd be days where we'd kind of like, leaf blow and expand these trails behind the school and on adjacent property with our HOAs and stuff. And halfway after working, you'd have someone, oh, is there a trail in here? It's like, yeah, there is. And so you'd have families walking their dogs or kids playing. And, it used to be just kids and deer running on these trails. And now or high school cross country kids trying to get out of the heat of the sun, running through the woods here, a lot of trees and things. So it just started expanding. And so I was riding about every day, every morning, because I could do it at 7 o'clock, and some other people did it, but we kept just growing it that way, just riding. And for me, it was cool because in Waxhaw we have this kind of an alternate boot camp or alternate workout for people that are injured. And I felt like this was a good one for people that maybe, hey, I can't go run like everybody else, or I have some and so there's been a lot of morphing into other workout options here in Waxhaw. And I thought this would be a good one. It was working great for me. There's been a lot of people kind of interested in mountain biking because of that and asking questions and things. So it got me to the point where I was like, wow, this is awesome. And started mountain biking a lot, got into it, like the trail work and kind of being outside and in the nature versus always on the pavement.
It's a
So
great was now story, especially the journey of not being engaged and then getting connected to the whole movement, right? And then finding your place and then really accelerating to the point where you're bringing in people that had no idea they had a trail right in their backyard, right? So that's a great tale. Great tale. Bratwurst, you've been very polite and quiet, my friend. So it's your turn to jump into the mix and season it up a little bit. What was your tie-in to the starting of this AO?
Well, kind of similar to what Jeff said, COVID produced a lot of opportunities to get out and mountain bike because everything else was shut down. And so I got interested in it, did it with my son, found a guy in the neighborhood, his name is Indo, and just started learning about it, learning about how to fix bikes because my son wanted to upgrade his bike. So now we were fixing bikes and learning about how to maintain our own bikes. And what I saw from the neighborhood, again, it was just a way to increase, people who were not in F3 to get in F3. And when Doug kind of started the site, it was just fun to go there with a different group of guys and do something different. I would say the social part of it, it's like a built-in cafeteria after every workout. There's not a lot of time. The evening affords the availability to be able to relax a little bit more. When it's a nice summer day, you're just bringing a chair, standing around. And the second F part of it was really, I think, part of that acceleration to help. And then that's built in, you don't have to really go anywhere. And just became more involved in enjoying it as an alternate way to, for me to not run. And that was my whole thing. People say I never put my hands on the ground unless I fall off my mountain bike. So,
it's a good time to do it.
And so it just became that. And we'll talk about how we've, I kind of connected some of the other stuff to something else that has brought some of these guys along with us.
Well, yeah, let's do that now, Brat. We were saying before, it sounds like you guys started fixing trails out of necessity, fixing bridges, clearing paths, but also you did something on a third F and in your community perspective of we're riding anyway. Maybe we can do something for some kids or whatever. So tell us about kind of the bike donation process, how that came about, because fill a need or find a need, fill it. It seems like you guys did exactly that. So tell us about kind of how long you've been doing that, how that came about. Just walk us through it, especially this time of year.
Yeah, I'll kind of start at the end because that's where tomorrow we're going to have a work day just in the afternoon to get several guys out to really fix about 60 bikes that have been collected just from some neighborhoods over the last couple of weeks. And that was after dozens of bikes before that. And the reason is there are some F3 guys, again, in Waxhaw that started this. They were in a third F group and they said, what can we do? Whatever we're reading now is pushing us toward more of a mission focus. And they started a group called Christ Closet with a nonprofit with some people in the community. And they were just collecting furniture, toys, housewares, appliances, and giving them away. And I had the opportunity to participate in one of those giveaways out in Eastern North Carolina. And there was a guy there who wasn't part of Waxhaw who would come in, they would get bikes, they would call this guy who'd come down and bring them back to Raleigh, fix them. And so they have a couple of bikes they would take out to their big giveaways they would do out in the Eastern North Carolina, kind of in the poor areas of Charlotte or just in the communities around us. And they would get these every so often and I would see them, but it wasn't until I kind of got my hands on a couple of them, fixed them up, and I didn't go on the giveaway, but we heard about this one giveaway where they gave two kids these bikes. And I was fixing these bikes up thinking, oh, this is a lady's cruiser bike. She's going to, maybe get to the grocery store and back. Well, they gave them to these kids. And they said, as they were finishing up and leaving later in the day, these kids were smiling and just going down the road. having a good old time just on these bikes that we've given them. And this, it's a ladies cruiser bike with 12 speeds. It's not a BMX cool bike for a kid, right? But we found out that there's a need, and then, people emotionally connect with that story to then look for other opportunities to get bikes. And so a couple of us just asked for some bikes here or there. We went to a convergence, brought a bike along and said, hey, if you have any bikes in your neighborhood or in your garage, bring them along. So sometimes we get bikes that have been in the woods for a couple years and it's hard to use those, but then we get kids bikes that are brand new that have the stickers on them. We get adult bikes with just flat tires that need to be pumped up. And we've been able to, not only after this second F opportunity after off the chain workouts, but then create work days for those same people to just come in, bring the bikes in. Some people don't know how to turn a wrench on a bike. We'll just find a bike. If you can't turn a wrench, be there. We'll buy some parts for us. Just all those things have come together to accelerate toward, again, this opportunity we have to, with Christ Closet, this organization that for Christmas is just, they want to give toys and bikes away to kids, to produce what they have as safe, rideable bikes for people. Again, maybe it was a flat tire, maybe it was a brake that didn't work, but the people here know we have to create safe bikes. We fall off bikes that are safe, but you have to have a safe bike to ride. So that's what we really do. We just take any bike, make sure it's safe to ride, maybe rub some grease off of it, but then we just give them back to Christ Closet, who gives them away.
That's outstanding. I've heard of organizations too that partner up with like free helmets, right? They want to put kids in helmets, and that's a great partnership. And a lot of communities have organizations like this. They realize how important transportation is. If I'm not mistaken, it's been added to, what used to be the four walls of safety, right? Like having a house, having clothing, having food, but transportation's been added to that. And it's pivotal, especially as we talk about the bigger conversation about things like food deserts, right? And getting out of that to go grab groceries. I mean, having a bike we know it as kids, how freeing that first ride is on your own.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't go away, right? You just have a little more control over where you're going, and maybe you're not jumping off cinder block ramps as often, but the opportunity's there. So I love it. I love it.
I was trying to do service with helping guys. Hey, I want to go out of the workout. And I was like, well, I've got this bike, but I don't know how to fix it, or they're embarrassed about it. Or so I'd help them fix something. And when you bike a lot, you have to know how to fix it, because stuff wears out. And if you just get crushed going to a bike store and waiting for it to get fixed and paying a lot of money. So I thought that was it. But then when Bratwurst came to a workout and said, hey, we've got 3 bikes to fix, and he brought tools. So we're hanging out after the ride, people were just digging in and learning how to do it. Or some people that maybe didn't know, and maybe they ride, but they don't know how to fix their own stuff. Like, oh, show me how to do that. Maybe afraid to ask. And so it's kind of been a 2F and a 3F thing to do it too. I think it's tremendous what Bratwurst started, and I think it's tremendous what Rockwell started just for me, because I'm at my kind of my high school weight now, being almost 50. And even though I've broken myself a couple of times, it was being just stupid, going too fast and doing things. But I'm healthier than I've been in 20 years because of a spark from someone else, and both more involved in the community and more involved health-wise. I'm better off because of just someone else taking some initiative and leading. I think that's an amazing thing that's done for me.
So I've got a question, Rockwell. If a guy doesn't have a bike and says, I really want to join you guys, I haven't ridden in a while, do you guys have extra bikes? Or if you know a guy's coming, you bring an extra bike? Or what would happen if you had an FNG who said, I really don't want to run, I don't want to do a boot camp, I really like the idea of the bike thing, but I don't have one? How does that work?
No, that happens. And of course, that's one of the biggest objections, right? Well, I can't do that, I don't have a bike. We have bikes. Mountain bikers are known for having more than one bike. It becomes kind of a disease. And
my wife's bike's a men's bike that happens to be not my size that I can let people ride.
That's
tell
right.
her that,
Yeah.
but
So
yeah.
we're like, yeah, come on out. We'll make sure we have a bike for you. And then oftentimes they come, they ride, they also get addicted, and then they're in the bike store spending a lot of money to get themselves their own bike. But yeah, that's a common thing for sure.
I
So
would
do you
say
guys
one of
have
the
a
other
big,
things.
oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say one of the other things is the concept of don't leave the six behind has been implemented by these guys, because you do have the new guys that come out, and then you have the guy who comes out and he just wants to shred. He wants to go over the jumps that these guys have built. He wants to go fast. But in biking, it's a group exercise. When you're on trails, you're single, one behind the other. But they will have opportunities for both the guy who wants to shred and the guy who just kind of comes out with his college bike and it doesn't remember the danger of going fast and wants to get more experience. Separate into two groups. One of these guys will take the opportunity to lead the fast group, and then one of these guys will take the opportunity that day to lead the slower group. And so really having a place for every person to come out, somewhere they can get exercise or somewhere they can just come out and have fun, is something that I've really seen accelerate, because it keeps bringing out new people. Everybody's not an experienced mountain biker, but everybody gets out there and they enjoy it. So having a place they can come back and feel not left out is, what F3 is about and how these guys have implemented it well.
Well, and then of course, following the routine of the cafeteria, although it's probably called something different in the evening, maybe, is great, right? Because you got guys locked in. And I always enjoy, especially the evening workouts, when everybody else sees you guys palling around and they get curious about what it is you're involved with. How do I get involved? I need to tell my husband about this. Like that's pretty special too. It's free advertising, right? For the most expensive free workout group I know of, free advertising is always good.
Well, and it's like was said, it's a different crew of guys that have come out, and because like, man, I can't run, but I want to get involved and I want to know more about F3, and they come out, I can ride a bike, or wow, this is in my neighborhood, and it's really kind of expanded some of the, when other packs have come out and said, hey, I want to check out this workout, and they're like, wow, how come you have 25 guys I've never met? Because the main crews, you get the other workouts, you get the people that are really been there doing a long time, and it's similar faces. But there were times we had 4 and 5 FNGs a week all summer. It's just people coming out, and a lot of people sticking. We had 25 people at workouts this last summer, where that's just, and people wanting to learn more and figure out more, and wishing they lived closer if they were visiting. But it's really been a success and made us have to be creative on how to manage a big group of bikers, because I've never ridden with a group that big before. Yeah. So you had to figure that out, and some good challenge, but making sure everyone's pick up the six and make sure everyone's not lost and and doing okay. And there's mechanical problems that happen, so it's hard to do a big group, but it's been a lot of fun too.
No doubt. Well, you guys have hit that nail on the head as far as why other regions should lean into this. I mean, you've got all 3 F's covered. You got service opportunity. That's at the end of the day, if we're leaning into servant leadership, we're doing something right, and everyone benefits. So I'll throw this out there. Any final thoughts from the 3 of you before we kind of land this plane, or park this bike, if you will?
I would say, as I started off, F3 is such a great community, and when there's opportunities to bring others into F3, introduce them to F3 that maybe didn't know about it, because like I said, if they don't do boot camps or running, to find alternatives like this, like mountain biking, it's been a really good thing, and we have a lot of the region has grown because of mountain bikers coming on board that just enjoy doing that. So yeah, it's been a ton of fun, and it's a blast. I mean, mountain biking is so much fun when you have 20-25 guys ripping through a single track trail, and then hanging out afterwards, just talking bikes, talking life. It's a good time.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'll say, just I've met guys I wouldn't never have gotten to know them very well. I think biking can be therapeutic. I've had amazing conversations riding behind someone else, just talking, and you don't realize how much exercise it really is on mountain biking. At least for me, it's like, wow, we've gone for an hour. I've got to stop and go do something else. Where for me, running was like, oh, when are we going to end? Right. But I've gotten to know some just great guys through F3 and just on mountain biking itself, and just giving people an opportunity to lead and to network and also these service opportunities. It's been great. The hinge pin has been the F3 organization.
Well, we appreciate you guys coming on again. Thanks for saying yes so quickly. Next time we have you on, we'll plan it. We will plan it months in advance. How's that? Italian Job. Anything from you, my friend?
I was thinking, every man has this innate desire to adventure, to do something else. And I remember the first time I was on a bike as a small child. I remember when we had to bring your bike to preschool and everybody was on training wheels, and I wasn't, because I grew up on a bike, starting at 3.5, 4 years old, I was on a bike.
Well, it was also a tricycle, I think, right?
That's a good point. Had a nice little bell on it, and anyway. But the thought of it, I remember as I got older, how awesome it was to go for a ride with my buddies, or let's ride up to the gas station and get a soft drink, or go get some Big League Chew. For those younger listeners, Big League Chew is a bubble gum that looks like chewing tobacco. But anyway, it was just this adventure. First it's going to my friend's house, then it's going out of the neighborhood, and then it's going to my friend's house outside of the neighborhood. Gosh, we would just disappear for hours on end. And I don't think we ever grow out of that. And, you might be 8 years old riding your bike with your buddies, or you might be 48 years old riding your bike with your buddies. It's still adventure and having fun with your friends. And so what I like most about the concept of F3 mountain biking, you still get the fitness, you still get the fellowship, the faith element comes into it in multiple ways. It hits on it checks all the boxes. And and I'm having fun with my buddies. How awesome is that? That's the stuff. That's the secret sauce. If it's kayaking, awesome. If it's running, okay. But mountain biking, that's freaking sweet. That's really good. So I appreciate you guys sharing with it. I think there's a guy out there listening right now saying, why not? Why don't we do that? Why can't we do that? We've got trails. We got bikes. So I'm hoping that, when this comes out, that somebody out there hears it and says, maybe we should do that too. I hear no reason why you shouldn't. So Thank you guys. Bratwurst, titanium plates, Rockwell, you guys are bringing together all three Fs in a different way. And it's awesome. I mean, that's what we're made to do, just to go adventure a bit. So thank you for sharing with us.
All right.
You're welcome.
All right, Podpackers, you know what to do. Get outside, get after it, make a new friend, invite them to F3. Until next time, be good or be good at it.
Appreciate it, guys.